All right, what's up everybody? Hello. I am going to be working on a drawing, a commissioned drawing. So I've got before Friday to do it. So I'm gonna try to start it and finish it maybe today. If you want a higher quality version of this stream, go to my YouTube channel. So I'm gonna be streaming on both just temporarily until all my Instagram followers know about my YouTube. So it's a companion piece. It's a drawing of Abel from the book of Genesis. And I've already finished the drawing of Cain. And so if you go to my YouTube channel, you can see the photograph that I took in order to I found this, a friend of mine, and I thought he had a good face for what I imagined Cain, or Abel to look like. So I'm using a ruler to plan out how big I want this drawing because I want him to be the same size as the drawing of Cain. So this is basically, I just need his head to be smaller than this right there. And this is textured paper. I don't know if you can actually see the marks that I made, but that doesn't matter because those marks are just for me to be able to get the drawing the right size. So anyway, welcome to everybody who's just joined. Once again, if you want a higher quality version of this stream, head to my YouTube channel. And on the stream on my YouTube channel, you can see my photo reference. So what I'm doing now, what's up to everybody on YouTube? So right now, I'm just trying to basically get the angle of his face planned. Also, because this is a commissioned drawing, I'm going to be drawing a lot more slowly than I normally do. So if y'all are here for an action-packed drawing session, like my figure drawing or something like that, you might be disappointed. This is the pace that I use when I'm working on a commission. So it's going to be slower. This is for a drawing that I want to be perfect. At least perfect for what I want to do. Rethinking the angles here. Let's see, someone's asking me time? I don't know what that question means. If you can elaborate and help me understand, that would be great. So here, it's all about getting the angles correct. That's the only thing I'm thinking about right now. Everything else is less important. I also want to understand, I want to make sure I'm getting the height to width relationship correctly planned. So from here to here, so here's around where the back of his head is going to be. I don't know if y'all can see that. Because I'm planning this is very much in the planning stage, I will be keeping my marks really, really light. So, hey, what's up, Rachel? Good to see you. How are you doing? I imagine you're in recovery mode at the moment. Okay, so here it may look like this is just like, what on earth is he drawing? But it's all about just getting this basic shape planned correctly. I am trying to ignore the fact that this is a portrait, an insanely complex series of anatomical landmarks and things like this. And I'm just trying to get that shape correctly planned. So once again, if you're just in my Instagram, I've got the photo reference and the drawing up on my YouTube. I'm live streaming it there. Yeah, someone asked, what on earth are you drawing? Go to my YouTube and you can see the photo reference. It's a great question. What on earth am I drawing? Hopefully you won't be asking that question for too long. This is a drawing of the biblical figure from Genesis. This is Abel. I've been commissioned to do a drawing of Cain and Abel, and I've already done Cain. And I think I have Cain posted on my website. I might be wrong. I think he's on my website. So here you can see this mark right here. This is just me lining up and trying to find where are all these shapes gonna go. So I'm searching to find the shape combinations. That's what this is all about, shape combinations at the moment. Once again, if you're just jumping in here and you want to see the photo reference, you should switch over and watch my live stream on YouTube. It is going to be much higher quality over there. Also, my YouTube live stream is from a DSLR camera, so it's going to be much nicer. So I'm going to step back, and already I'm stepping back asking myself, is this shape reading correctly? I think it is so far. I'm keeping everything really light because I want to be able to fix mistakes. I'm going to be making a ton of mistakes here. If you're anything like me, then you make a lot of mistakes. So why on earth would you draw heavy? You're just going to have to erase, right? Okay, I want to think about where's this brow ridge going to go. Welcome to those of you who are just jumping into my YouTube. And also welcome to those of you who are in my Instagram. I'm streaming both at the moment. It's a little hectic, but I just wanted to try it. You should see my setup. I've got a nice setup for my YouTube. My phone for my Instagram is literally balancing on a big piece of wood that's duct taped to one of my lights. So it's ridiculous. Maybe I'll take a picture of my setup so that you all can see how ridiculous it is. So the key words right now that I'm thinking about, everything I want to get right, it's just all about angles. This drawing will be a success or a failure in how I find these angles. Okay, so someone on YouTube asked what kind of pencil I'm using. It is a Conte à Paris 1710B. I get a lot of those questions on Instagram as well. Okay, I'm starting to think that some of my angles are a little bit incorrect. Yeah, this one's incorrect. So already, I need to be checking angles and correcting them whenever I can. So I'm going to step back and look. Does that look a little bit better? I think a little bit better. It's really going to come to life here, or my mistakes will make themselves apparent when I add this nose in here. So that's the cheekbone. And you can see this line here, this is just a guiding line. Rachel's asking for a setup photo. You'll get one for sure. It's ridiculous. Okay. Interesting. The computer, okay, here we go. Okay, there we go. So how do I know where to put this the bridge of his nose. Well, first I'm going to get the angle, and then I'm going to pay attention to if the line for the nose continued through the top of his head, how much space would be left. I'm creating this negative space shape based on where this is going to point. So I'll probably go right here, and I'll go ahead and just draw this out and see if it feels correct. So I'm going to step back and look at it. How's that feeling? I think that's too high up. So I've created a nice wide line here, so I can go ahead and lower it just by erasing the top part of the line. I need to measure and see if this is correctly placed all together, actually. So I'll go from the bridge of the nose and measure from that to the top of the head. And it's exactly 1/3. So 1, 1, 1. Okay, so it maybe needs to go up slightly. And here's the thing, is I'm not actually looking for a likeness here. That's not what I'm going for, because it's a mythical, or it's an ancient story, and it's a character that nobody knows what he looked like. That part doesn't really matter. It's the energy of the expression that I want. It's the spirit of the moment. So I'm backing up again. I'm going to need a little more context for this because the angle of the nose is making this feel like it's too... Someone asked what kind of sketchbook I'm using. It's a Strathmore 400 series toned paper. Also, for those of you on my Instagram, jump over to YouTube if you want a better stream. I've got the photo reference up there, so you can see what it's like. It's much better on YouTube. Also, I'm streaming from a DSLR, so the picture quality is going to be better. So the name of the game here is just moving these major pieces around and trying to find this spatial relationship between these different volumes and the dynamic relationship between all of the angles. And I'm just slowly trying to sophisticate all that. Just a reminder, I normally draw a lot faster than this, but this is a commissioned drawing, so I'm going to be really taking my time on this one. Okay. I think when I put the eye in here, I think that the orientation of the head will start to come to life, because right now it's reading a little flat. So in every single drawing that we do, we hit a point where we realize it's not looking how I want it to look. And it's at this stage that we make sure that we contend with that and try to find that energy before we move on into any kind of detail. Okay. Okay, so D. Wade asks, how does your approach change when you draw from life? That's a great question. It doesn't. It probably changes because in a photo, The camera has already done the 3D to 2D conversion for me. That's why I always prefer working from life. Because the human eye is actually a whole lot better than cameras are at understanding three-dimensional space. And if you want to kind of, one helpful way to understand that is, have you ever seen a picture of the Grand Canyon, for example? How does that compare to when you are actually at the Grand Canyon? Or some similarly grandiose space like that? The camera just doesn't do it justice. Well, the camera doesn't do anything justice. The human eye is so much more well-equipped to understand the beauty of 3D space. And so my approach probably doesn't change, but I'm just rambling. I don't actually know if I know how to answer that question. I'll have to, next time I'm drawing from life, I'll pay attention to it and see if anything changes in my approach. What's up to everybody on Instagram? I'm just going to give sort of regular reminders that I'm live streaming on YouTube, and you can see my photo reference if you follow my live stream on YouTube. So go check that out if you feel like it. All right, getting that eye in has been helpful. I'm not so sure it's correctly placed. Once again, this is a commission. So whenever I work on commissions, I work really, really slowly. And I usually end up erasing and redrawing and erasing and redrawing. And that's just part of getting it exactly to where I want it to be. So, most of the time when I'm streaming, I'm figure drawing or portrait drawing, and not for a commission, but just for practice. And so I usually go a lot faster. But that is not this. This is intended to become a masterpiece. Just kidding, but not totally kidding. Measuring out where I want this hairline to be. If I've missed any questions on Instagram, I'm kind of stuck into this drawing, so just be shameless about asking it several times. This is out too far. There's going to be a lot of this, little minute adjustments, trying to bring this thing to life correctly. And I'll keep adjusting it until I feel like this is where I want it to be. I want his energy. It's all about these angles. By the way, please don't hesitate to ask questions. This is a drawing It's a companion drawing to a drawing on my website of Cain. This is going to be Abel. If you want to see the photo reference that I'm working from, I took of a friend of mine, a guy named Ray. You can head to my YouTube and watch it there. And there I'm streaming from a DSLR, so it'll be a much higher quality. I think one thing that's really going to bring this to life is to get the ear placed correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and start thinking about that. Yeah, so someone asked, are you going to complete it in one session? I am going to try. I would like to. But I might do it in 2 sessions. That might be the smartest thing. I'm measuring where to put the back or the front of the ear. And it's going to go from here. So this is, now I want to know what's the angle from the top of the ear to the eyebrow. Something like this, which gives me the exact placement of the top of his ear. This was a little bit too high. And I'll double check that off of on a horizontal line as well, and it should come to about here. So yeah, I'm thinking like right here is going to be the top of this ear. I'll bring it back. So you can kind of see how I'm not relying on any sort of guesswork. I am figuring it out. You can really find the answers if you just get creative about what to measure against what. And here's the base of his ear. It's going to be right here. Now I want to find this angle right here. This will be the front. And you can kind of see where that ear is going to be placed. Thinking about this angle now. Next, the top of the ear. Something like this. And of course there's going to be a curve to it, but I just want the major direction. Now I'm stepping back and asking myself, does that ear placement look correct? Yeah, it's starting to feel pretty good. Hello to everybody who's just joined. If you're on Instagram, there's a much higher quality version of this live stream on YouTube, so head to my YouTube and watch there. I'm going to kind of say that periodically, so if you've heard me say it a couple times already, I apologize. You're going to hear it again too. This is me just checking that this neck is back far enough, and it sure is not. So I'm glad I'm checking. Let's pull this back in. This is one of the hazards of drawing straight into compressed charcoal, is your mistakes stay on the page. Okay. I'm just taking a moment to step back and look, because I've gone a long way here, considering what I'm attempting to draw. And I really don't want to let myself miss any mistakes that I've made so far, because the farther I go on this, the more ossified or solidified the mistakes become, and the harder they become to correct. So I really am gonna try to move really slowly from this point. The beginning of a drawing is by far and beyond the most important part of the drawing. So I think the next thing I need to work on is I really want to get this mouth in. And so what I want to do is I want to try to place the corner of the mouth correctly. Any part of the mouth you want to draw is less important than the corner. The corners are sort of where there's a congregation of most of the facial muscles that actually work the lips. So the corners of the mouth become the most important part to get right. So I'm going to, using a plumb line, figure out where that corner is going to be. It's going to be about here. So I think this line was correct. Now I need to place it correctly, higher or lower. That's the next most important part. So how do I do that? Well, I'll just measure from the nose to the corner of the mouth and see how many times that fits in underneath it. So, and then I'll use a plumb line to see where it falls on the ear, and I'll check a couple of things. 1, 2. I need to recheck that. That was not helpful. I'm going to say about here. Now I'm going to check it off of the. Now I'm going to check it off the ear and see, does it fall higher or lower than the ear? Okay, that measurement says it should be up here. So there's a pretty big difference there. So I need to figure out, is the ear incorrect? Yes, the ear is incorrect. Okay, cool. So this is a big part of drawing, is you find something that's not quite right, correct it, and that shows you that other parts of the drawing are incorrect. I think the bottom of the ear was correct. I think I just made it too big. So there's the horizontal point. And let's see. So this is where the top of the ear should be. You know, drawing is very much like a wrestling match. You're pushing and pulling. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Working hard on this one. For those of you who've just joined, this is a commissioned drawing. And I really, really want to make sure I get this one right. So that's why I'm taking a little longer than I would normally take on this. Or a little longer than I would normally take on any drawing, really. So I'm trying to find this ear placement, which I think I botched. So it's just going to take a good bit of measuring here. Start to feel that twist of the neck, though. That's a big, big part of this. bringing this ear down ever so slightly. It's interesting how understanding the ear is so connected to understanding the placement of the mouth. That's what this is all about. The ear placement, we started reworking this when I realized the mouth doesn't feel right. So now let's go back and revisit this. So I'm getting this one as being correct. So I want to just get rid of this previous line and then see that this is the corner of the mouth right here. And then the corner of the mouth should be on a horizontal, yeah, it should be significantly higher than the ear. So the ear probably even needs to come down even more, which is kind of hard to do because I've already lowered it so much, but I think if I really take the time to get this worked out, it'll all be worth it. The better job I do of getting these angles in the right places, the more dynamic and alive this portrait is going to seem. Yes, I will save the stream for sure. Thank you so much for jumping in and taking part. I really enjoy having active people in my streams who ask questions and make comments. A big part of why I stream. Well, there's a couple of big parts. The first part, though, is that I love to teach. It makes me so much better at what I do. But the second part is I'm just a massive extrovert. And so if I can take my art making and make it social, honestly, I'll have a lot more fun doing it. So how's that smile reading? What do you all think? I think it's pretty good. I'm starting to wonder if this nose is too big. I think it's too big. So I'm going to drop it back. And once again, I'm not going for a likeness here. I just wanted to read. I want the energy, the expression to read. If you're here on my Instagram, you'll find a better version of this stream over on my YouTube. I'm using a DSLR and you can see the photo reference. So Everyday Sketchbook says that she's finding this stream very relaxing. I'm glad. I'm glad it's helping. If you don't follow her, she's got a really cool Instagram where she's doing a drawing every single day, regardless of her circumstances. So I find her to be a model of dedication to art making, so she's really cool. And I've definitely learned a lot from her story. And I'm trying to do the same thing where I want to try to at least make one thing and post it every single day. Very hard to do, and I miss days. But the most important thing is not to not screw up and miss days. The most important thing is what do you do when you do screw up and you don't draw for a few days or for a few weeks or however long you end up going. The important thing is just getting back into it. Yeah. So let me keep going on this. Eventually, I'm starting to think about how the line work on the lip here, I'm going to want this line work to be very specific because the skin is stretched so tightly over the lip, that it creates a harder line. And then down here, the beard coming out. And if you want to see the photo reference, go to my YouTube, link in my bio. I'm going to draw the beard much more softly. And I think I've pushed that out a little bit too far. That's the great thing about beards, is that just means I've given him a bigger beard. So beards are very, very forgiving. It's one of the reasons why I find drawing bearded men to be one of my favorites, because you have absolute forgiveness on the placement of their jawline. It's great. Okay, so I'm going to step back. Am I seeing this, the energy of this moment? I want this to feel more concave. I really want this to just come straight down. And I think I might be pushing this lip up a little bit too high. I'm seeing where it intersects with the eye here. So I'm going to soften all that up and push it back through. This time thinking less about the details and more about the angles. And already I'm liking the way this feels a whole lot more. So, all right, what do y'all think so far? Have I made any mistakes? Are there areas that need correcting? Let me know what you think. I have on multiple occasions corrected drawings based on comments from my viewers. So, please don't hesitate to say, I think you need to move the nose or something like that. If you've made comments on my Instagram, I probably haven't seen them because my phone is set up kind of far back. Uh-oh, did that make it go out of focus? Dang it, it's out of focus now, isn't it? There it goes, okay. Yeah, so just keep asking your questions if I miss it. I'm kind of stuck into my drawing here. That's way too sharp of a line. What I want to draw next is I want to begin planning what's called the terminating line. Terminating line is the separation of the light side and the shadow side. And getting this placed correctly is absolutely essential. I want to place the angle of this back shoulder correctly. It's something like this. See how I'm bringing it through the entire head to see if I follow this angle all the way through, where is it going to come out on the other side? And that's a good way to find angles correctly. Same thing here. So this is the overall angle here. But I'm going to bring it out where the shoulder blade presses out and then back in. Something like that. Stepping back, am I happy with the way this is going? I think I am so far. Okay, so if I'm happy with the way it's going, I'm going to go ahead and start getting a little more definite with some of this line work. I think I want to bring this eye in a little bit more. And allow myself to start observing the shadow shapes in and around the eyes. When you're drawing something like an eye, You really don't want to slip into a mode of just saying, I need the upper eyelid, I need the lower eyelid, now I need the eyelashes. Really, it should be, if you're drawing in sort of a more style of realism, think about it more like, what are the shadow shapes? So the shadow shapes around the eye. I don't know if y'all can hear the scratching of my charcoal off the paper, but I'm sure that's like drawing ASMR. I want to bring this down a little bit more. So what's cool about his eyebrows is they just sort of fan out over here on the side of his face. I like that. That's kind of cool. I want to get this highlight, and I'm going to sort of plan where the highlight ends right here on his temporal arch. Getting these shadow shapes planned in underneath the eye. Getting those shadow shapes drawn in correctly, that's what's going to give me the anatomy of the face. Hello to those who've just joined on Instagram. If you want to see the photo reference that I'm working from, and a higher quality version of the stream, head over to my YouTube. So if I am approaching being happy with the placement of all the major features here, then it is time to start getting more bold. This is kind of a stage in the drawing where we can fall into the trap of perpetual preparation. So I'm going to get all the shadow shapes placed, and I'll step back, and if I'm happy about where they're placed, then I'll just jump right in with the shading. So I'm going to step back. Do I like it? I'll show you the companion piece, the one of Cain. Here's Cain, and there's his brother Abel in the making. So I went back and I read the narrative and tried to get a solid understanding of what were these two guys actually like. What's the character dynamic being portrayed there? And I'm letting that I let that drive my photo shoots. So with ears, I was once asked to teach a lesson on how to draw ears. It was for Adobe. And so I used to teach a lesson. I used to even teach the anatomy of the ears. And since then, I have stopped doing that. And the reason is that it's not helpful to people. What people need is to just draw the shapes of the shadows inside the ear, and if you do that, then the ear will come to life. So that's what we're going to do. But I used to teach, this is the helix, this is the counter helix, this is the blah, 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 blah. I don't do that anymore. Now, let your eyes fall out of focus and find these shadow shapes. So here's a shadow shape that's kind of a diamond shape. Then there's one directly underneath it that's kind of that kind of a shape. Then we're going to go down here. There's one that's shaped kind of like this. I think I need to make these little diamond shapes a little bit smaller. So here's one shadow shape there. Just a reminder, if you're on Instagram and you want to see the photo reference, hop over to YouTube. Check out my live stream there. Okay, so I like the placement of these shadow shapes. I've got one more shadow shape to plan, and then we can shade it in and see if it looks like the insanely complex cartilage formation of the ear. Let's find out. So we can just, I think this will need to come out here. So I need to come in a little bit more. And stepping back, is that starting to read like an ear? Close. Okay, that method is still pending. That ear method is not an official drawing method of Jonathan Dockery and Johnny Draws and all sub-drawing resources under the Jonathan Dockery name. But I promise it'll look like an ear when I'm done. This is how I like to start though. Okay, stepping back, is this reading how I want? I need this value in the lip and underneath the top row of teeth. I'm gonna unfocus my eye and let myself just capture the value patterns here. And I'm not gonna draw individual objects. I'm not gonna draw the teeth, I'm not gonna draw the lips. I'm going to unfocus my eye or squint and just capture the value patterns. Here's a dark shape, here's a light shape, and if you do that correctly, it should start to come to life. Okay, this cheek needs to push out a little bit more. And I can go ahead and start to allow myself to observe the dark value right here of the mustache. And I'm not putting in final values at this point. I'm just trying to ask myself the question, are my value patterns placed correctly? And we can do that with light value and with incorrect value. Incorrect meaning too light, but I want the patterns to be correct. All right. This lip, I want to bring the value out a little bit more on there. Get a little bolder here. This goatee. All right, I'm starting to like the way that looks. I want to go ahead and hold up the companion piece and see if I like the way they go together. I think I do. I'm drawing his head bigger, even though this is taking up more space. Were you all able to see that? I may have held it off too far off to the side. I was. Here's the cane piece that I did. So that's the level of detail I'll be going for with the companion piece, Abel. All right, let's keep going. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. If you're on Instagram, you can find a better version of the stream on YouTube. Just another periodic reminder. I'm going to be focusing more of my efforts on YouTube from now on. Just because I think it fits what I do a little bit better. I'm not going to abandon Instagram or anything, but okay, I want to get the folds in the neck a little more specific. First, I want to see how long I've been streaming for. Almost an hour. Okay. That's cool. Well, I'm definitely going to take a break on this one. So, maybe take a break and go get something to eat. But I'll be saving the recording, so. If you want to catch that at a later date, you can subscribe to the channel and you'll see when it pops up. So I'm gonna start using also a couple of different tools. Let me go get them. Okay. Here is one of the tools that I'm gonna be using. This is called a Smudge Stick. It's basically really tightly wrapped paper. But what's cool about it is how it starts to push the charcoal into the texture of the paper, and it smooths it out big time. Look at that. Love it. Love drawing with this stuff. And once it gets dirty enough, you can actually start drawing with this. It's really cool. So I'll definitely be using that a whole lot. I'm also going to be drawing with my eraser a lot. So it becomes kind of like you're modeling, you know? There's going to be a lot of push and pull. So just to give myself full value context, I might want to take part of the drawing and go ahead and get myself, or get a part of the drawing as close as I possibly can to just jet black. That way I've got a value reference for the rest of the drawing. So if I go to jet black right here, for example, or as close as I can step back and it sort of tells me how dark the rest of the drawing needs to be. So that's my reference point. So now what I want to do, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And start working on the eyes. Just because when I step back, that's the part of the drawing that's really asking for more detail. Maybe it's not. Maybe, you know what? It is the mustache. This angle is incorrect. This needs to come back in like that. That's better. Just a tiny change, but these tiny changes, man, they make a huge difference over the course of drawing. So I really want to let myself just ask myself which angles are making me really happy to look at, and which ones am I missing some of the life of the moment, the energy, the spirit, the story. Think about how complex, how subtle, how nuanced the human capacity for facial expressions are. I mean, somebody can just move an eyebrow a millimeter and they can communicate so much with just that single movement. So, sometimes in a drawing, you don't want to miss that millimeter. Other times it's totally okay. Depends on where it is. By the way, please don't hesitate to ask questions if you're on Instagram or if you're on YouTube. I'm trying to check those feeds periodically. I mean, I'm staring straight at this piece of paper most of the time, but I'm happy to take questions or comments. I'd love to hear from you. So at this stage in the drawing, I'm just trying to step back a whole lot. I want to step back, continually get good context for what I'm doing here. This is a part of the drawing where it's so easy to just lose control of everything. you draw for like 20 minutes straight. Maybe you're into your music or whatever. And then you step back and you're like, oh my goodness, what have I done? Has anyone else experienced that? It's like, when did I lose control of this drawing? It's so sad. Well, that's happened to me way too many times, which is why when I'm working on something that I know needs to be good, you know, a lot of the paintings and drawings I do for myself, I'm like, you know what? I messed this one up, but who cares? They can't all be winners. Well, this is a commission, so I really don't want to mess it up. I care. So don't let it get out of control. Continually step back. Make sure you're on the right track. I don't want to have this be too much of a line. I just want it to be a value shift. And now I want to bring this value into the cheek. I really don't want that big of a value difference. I really don't want to have to move from too much contrast. Well, no, I need to think of a better way to put this. I don't want to move from too specific back toward having to create sort of looseness or vagueness. I want to go from looseness towards specificity. So I'm going to bring this across this ear, because I don't want the ear to be a focal point, but I do need to bring out some of this brightness at some point. So I'm going to make sure to keep this really soft, because I want my eraser to be able to bring this back out. Am I happy with the way this is going? Yeah, I need to unify my value patterns though. What's up to those of you who've just joined my Instagram? Thanks for joining. Let me know if you have any questions. This is a portrait. I took the photo of a friend of mine. He did an awesome job. And it is a commissioned portrait of the character from Genesis. This is Abel. What's up, Lindsay? Good to see you. Thanks for jumping in. There's a better version of this stream on my YouTube. This is streaming from my phone. My YouTube is streaming from a DSLR. So jump over to my YouTube if you want to check that out. That's where I'm going to start streaming from now on, by the way. So if you haven't already, connect with me on YouTube. So here I really want to start getting more and more specific with these value patterns. Specific to the actual value. You know, earlier we were just placing them and getting a sort of a stand-in value in place. Now I actually want to get the correct values in here. Hang on one second. Okay, someone asked, do you have a comfort starting point as far as features? Meaning, do you usually feel comfortable starting the portrait with a certain area? Just a great question. Yes, I do have a comfort place that I start with. Angles, it's all about angles. I want to get the most important angles down. I want to get them down correctly. So I start with the angle for the front of the face, angle for the back of the head, angle for the neck, angle for the shoulders. That's my happy space to start with. That's where the energy of the pose is either discovered or lost. If you miss those first angles, you're probably never going to find them later in the drawing. It's a really good question. Thanks. Thank you all for joining. Seeing new faces in here, or new names, I guess, that I've never seen before, so that's cool. Appreciate seeing y'all come in. I've placed something incorrectly here. I need to figure this out. Yep, this needs to come in a lot. Like this. Boy, was that placed incorrectly. Oh my goodness. That's a lot better. That feels so much better already. Such a small difference, but it makes a big difference. Letting this value come out slowly, unifying everything. We don't want, I mean, you can definitely use value to manufacture focal points, but it should also make sense to what's there. Let's keep going with these folds. Also, no, I want the beard in. Up into the sideburns here. There we go. Welcome to everybody who's just joined. I think I need some more value in these eyebrows. I've been holding back on these for so long. I think they're correctly placed. I need to go ahead and just commit. This is compressed charcoal. So that's part of what makes me nervous, because you make a mistake with compressed charcoal, it's there forever. So either work with it or get a new piece of paper. But with this charcoal, you know, no amount of erasing will do anything but make it even more permanent, probably. Gonna allow this eye to sort of fall into its correct value. It's not about detail. You want detail in the eye? Find correct value around the eye. That's how to do it, if this is your style of drawing. Let's see. Rachel, thanks for jumping in. Sleep well. Prime Proxy, I haven't seen you in forever. Good to see you. Have we started doing in-person figure drawing in Winston-Salem yet? Absolutely. Not regularly, but I'll tell you what. Send me a personal message and give me your email or your phone number, and I'll be happy to let you know when the next figure drawing session is, and I'll send you a personal invite. I can forget to connect with people on Instagram, so. But I would love to get the figure drawing going on a semi-regular basis, so if you want to be a part of that, yeah, send me your info. It'd be great to connect. I definitely have a pretty decently sized group who are wanting to start figure drawing again. Everybody was freaked out, obviously, because of COVID for a while, but now I think everybody's ready to jump in. So I've got enough room for a small group in my art studio. And if we get a bigger group, I've got a space really nearby for bigger groups. So I used to teach out of the APHIS building on Liberty Street. Now my studio is on 6th Street, right across from 6th and Vine. So you can, and so with smaller groups, that's probably where we'll end up doing it, just because I'm already paying rent. So why not do it there? And do you want classes, or do you just want a figure drawing workshop, a place where you can show up and draw and practice? What's up to everybody who has just jumped in? Let me see. Prime Proxy started a new job, but still draws at least 4 hours a day. That is amazing. Cool. Congrats on your new job. Hello, thanks for jumping in. Hello from the United States. I love seeing people jump into my streams from around the world. It's awesome. Here, I'm interested in capturing some of this interesting value patterning around his face. All this unique value patterning is part of his story, part of his expression, his complexion, everything. So, is it time to go ahead and get into more detail in the eyes? I'm going to say no. I think it's actually time to find more detail in the nose. So let's jump in to the nose. I really want this nose to shine. Ooh, sorry, I'll try to keep my head out of the frame here. But there will be a time when I start getting really close to the drawing, so I'll probably get my head in there a lot. So, sorry about that. And now I'm thinking about, someone asked, what powder of shade do you have? This is just a B pencil. Someone else says, another question from Egypt. Hello. So cool to have you in here. If I'm drawing using pencils, how many grades do I need to have my drawing be diverse in the value department? The simpler your value patterns, the better. So I would start with 2 and try to make the drawing look good with only 2 values. And that's going to be just the light side and the dark side, right? And if you can do that, then you sort of earn the right to add a 3rd value and then a 4th. But if your drawing doesn't look good at 2 values, then it's not going to look good at 3 values It's not going to look good at 4 values. Those values are just going to make things look worse. So, great question. Also, if anyone on YouTube has questions, I'm trying to keep an eye on that feed as well. I'm totally new at YouTube. I don't even know how many people are in the stream, so maybe. I'm starting to dig the way this is looking. Now that everything's kind of placed correctly and I'm just working the values, I'm going to start to think about more sort of artistic decisions, quote unquote, like the directionality of my strokes, the energy in my strokes. This is a Conte à Paris 1710B for those of you who are interested in trying to get my pencil. Or the kind of pencil that I use. I have used tons and tons of different brands. I like this one because it's thicker on the inside of the pencil, so I find that helpful, but so what 2 grades of value should a person use at the beginning stages of a portrait? I would say, honestly, it doesn't matter too much because you are trying to capture the patterns, and even if you draw too lightly, you can still see if the patterns are correct or not. So that's what I would say. I'm sorry, I'm sure I'm giving you lots of unsatisfying answers. Okay. Just another reminder. There's a much better version of this stream on YouTube. I'm streaming currently both on YouTube and on Instagram. But my YouTube stream, you can see the photo reference, and I'm streaming from a DSLR, so it's much higher quality. So head over there. Oops, I think I just knocked my camera. So head over there if you're interested. Those 2 grades, again, are any that you want. The point is not to get them correct on the first pass. The point is to understand the patterns of light and shadow. That's what you're trying to capture on when you first start a portrait and you're sticking with 2 grades. But I would say maybe if you wanted to be, if you were to have to choose a grade, then I would say pick a grade, maybe the medium grade of, or the average dark value for that area of the portrait. I don't know, that's a good question. Let me think about that. Sometimes people ask questions and I'm like, man, I really haven't thought about that. I just busted my charcoal. I might have to take a break and sharpen this, but I'll keep going for a few more minutes and just see. Maybe I can make it work. Maybe I can use it to my advantage. Get some of these. Let's get some eyelashes in here. Oh, I totally got distracted. I said I was going to work on the nose. So I'm going to do it. I find that the more you concentrate on the eyes in a portrait, the worse the portrait's going to be. But, you know, you have that famous quote, the eyes are the windows to the soul, things like that. And so people have this inclination to just focus on the eyes, but I find that a real likeness, you really want a likeness with your subject. It's the nose and the brow ridge. Maybe the lips even. And when I say the lips, number one is the corners of the mouth. So maybe I should say the mouth and not the lips. I think I've got the eye needing to come down farther, like this, and then there's a shadow that comes down even farther. With every little correction to these angles, I'm getting closer and closer to the spirit of this character. So we press on, and I keep stepping back, and I don't make a mark unless I'm certain that it's going to improve the portrait. If you just start drawing, you start moving the pencil around. That's what I tell my students. I'll walk up behind a student and I can see that they maybe don't know exactly what to do, but they're still drawing or painting, and I'll say, you got a plan, or are you just moving that pencil around? There's this weird tendency for artists to, if they don't know what to do, they just start trying stuff. And it's like, suddenly they've ruined their portrait. So that's bad. Don't do that. Really, if you are having a hard time, you should step back and just stay back until you're like, oh, that's what it needs. All right, this portrait has come a long way. How long have I been going? We're at 1 hour and 24 minutes. I'm having a good time on it so far. I think this neck needs to come in a little bit farther. I want to put some value down here too. Yeah, that's helping. I don't like this dark line though. I want to get rid of that. I just want it to be a value separation. I don't want it to be a line. It's not an illustration, so I don't want an outline. I just want two meetings, or a meeting of two different values. Prime Proxy says, I do most of my figure drawing in ink. It has helped my restraint greatly. Yeah, that's awesome. You gotta think more about what you're gonna do. You gotta make a plan. You just start moving ink around wildly, you're gonna waste a lot of paper. Well, maybe not waste it, but there's gonna be a lot of drawings that get out of control. And that's another interesting question. Okay, so Omar Allah has reminded me to answer the grades question. I think I've answered it a few times. Maybe it's a connection issue, but I'll answer it again. The question is basically, when you're planning a portrait, you're starting it with 2 grades of value. One for the light side and one for the dark side, or the shadow side is actually much more specific. And the answer is, it doesn't really matter what values you use, because you are making a plan for the pattern of values. If you needed to pick, if you just must have an answer, I would say for the shadow side, use a value that represents the average value of the shadows. And for the light side, the same. So I hope that answers the question. I know a lot of my answers are probably frustrating because they're a little vague sometimes. Okay, now I want these teeth. And the way I'm going to get these teeth are the shapes of the shadows around them. Do not draw teeth. In fact, I'm even going to let these shadows drift into the dark value of the lips beneath them. Maybe these teeth are glowing too much. What value are they? Well, I'm just going to drop them into a little bit darker value. And now, because we've done it with this soft little smudge stick, we can pull out some of that value as needed. I think this needs to come up a little bit higher. I want to drop this down a little bit just because it's commanding too much importance right now. I stepped back and I'm like, man, all I can see is that little space there, and I don't want it to be that important. So sometimes value decisions are made based on compositional issues like that. Okay. All right, so let's compare this to the other portrait, because I really want to make sure these 2 portraits match stylistically, because they're supposed to go together. So here is Cain, and here is his brother Abel. Really want to make sure they fit. I think I need darker values here. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get a big fat chunk of compressed charcoal. 1 second. It's over here in my drawing cabinet. All right, so I'm going to be using this guy right here. This big fat chunk of compressed charcoal, I think it's going to give me, oh yeah, look at that. Boom. Love it. Making sure I'm using it to find the energy of this and not just fill stuff in. This is why I love charcoal. You can't get this dark with pencil. And some of my favorite artists draw in pencil, so it's not like I'm saying charcoal is objectively better than pencil. All I'm saying is I like it a whole lot. So I have a lot of commissions come in. People want pencil. And it's just a different look. Pencil is certainly easier to use. A lot of my students, when I first tell them, nope, we're using charcoal, they hate it. And I know it's hard. It takes a long time to get used to the permanence. You know, you make a mistake in charcoal, very unforgiving. I'm noticing that the ears in the photo reference, which if you want to see the photo references, jump over to my YouTube channel. What have I done with my eraser? There it is. If you want to see my photo references, jump over to my YouTube channel. My YouTube stream has the photo reference right next to it. So I'm letting this ear come. Oh. Shoot. My phone died. That's okay. The Instagram stream will take a break. But the YouTube stream will persist. Let's see. Okay, it's 6:30. I'll go for another 10 minutes on this and then I'm gonna take a break. Ooh, man, gotta clean up all this. This is all just from my hands. Oh yeah, this is a good reason to wash your hands while you're drawing. Okay, so let's go for 10 more minutes on this. All right. For fear that I am getting close to just beginning to make decisions too quickly. You know, a lot of times when you've been standing for a while, when you've been drawing for a while, your fatigue, even though you may not feel it, it can start to make you rush. Which is another major reason to take tons of breaks. I mean, the biggest reason is so that you get a good perspective on what it is that you're actually making. How close are you to the actual subject? Are you missing something big? So, but the second reason is when you start to get tired, you start settling with decisions more quickly than you normally would, or one does. And it just makes you more, accident prone and more prone to leave sloppy drawing in place and to build off of sloppy drawing, which is bad. You don't want to do that. It's real bad. So, for that matter, I'm going to take a break, go home, and get some food. But sometimes all you need is to go sit down across the room and stare at it from across the room, maybe check your messages, whatever. Take 5 minutes. And then when you're done, look back up and you're like, oh my gosh, the ear's in the wrong place. And it takes a break like that to be able to see stuff sometimes. So I'm going to stop here for now. I'm going to take a break, and I'll catch you all on the next half of this, where I take this and I finish it up. So hope you all have enjoyed this. Part 2 coming soon. Peace.